So in the comments of some videos, and including my videos, where pretty much there's comments saying, how come we're focused on trying to colonize Mars or go to the moon or explore space, but how come we're focusing up there, but we're not focusing everything down here? But here's the answer I'm always going to tell people. Technically, we're doing both, and here's why. My name is Chris. Welcome to the universe. Let's get started today's video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you guys are brand new, and let's get started. So, I have 5 steps, pretty much talking about everything NASA related and how we're going to be using it on Earth, but also exploring up. So, exploring space has led to many technological improvements and discoveries to improve life here on Earth. More specifically, satellites. Satellite development used for space missions provide GPS navigation, weather forecasting, and disaster monitoring and global communications. For example, the International Space Station has photographed the massive wildfires that's happening on this continent, especially up in Canada, because these massive wildfires are humongous to the point where it's affecting the United States as well, and it's causing, you know, massive air quality disasters in many parts of the Pacific Northwest, even in the central Midwestern United States, and actually the Midwestern section of our continent. But also communications to bring communications like trade and global, global trade, global communications around the globe. Also, medical advances, such as approved imaging technology when you're getting like an MRI on, let's say, my knee. So actually, I just had a knee MRI, and I actually had to get surgery next week. But also, portable health monitors, like for EKGs for hearts, and water purification systems to provide healthy drinking water for places around the globe. Were originally created to improve for astronauts are now used in hospitals and communities just around the globe. I mean, that's crazy that all the stuff that astronauts are using is now in technologies around the globe, like in hospitals and other centers. You know, you go to the doctors and, hey, you want medical help, you want some things to help you improve your functions of walking, or your, examining your heart. Space exploration also drives innovations in material and engineering. Scientists have developed lighter, stronger materials to actually better solar panels, more efficient batteries, and advanced robotics to pretty much help build these rovers on Mars. And all those rovers are actually looking for life on the planet to help us understand what Mars was like billions of years ago, to even eventually get humans to Mars. And also learning about our planet as well. You know, how can we turn Earth back into Earth? You know, understanding new robots and new technologies that we're developing. You know, we have hadron colliders, we had strong magnetism, we have, a lot of fuel saving entities and building better spacesuits for interplanetary missions like going to Mars. Um, but also transportation as well, building advanced cars, cars that can drive themselves, like those cyber cabs. Studying Earth from space helps scientists monitor climate change, track wildfire, just like I said, the International Space Station has snapped the photograph of these large wildfires up in Canada and the Pacific Northwest. Also predict hurricanes. Now, see, like with all the climate stuff that's happening, these hurricanes are getting stronger, because of higher water temperatures and also natural resources, allowing government and communities to respond more efficiently to environmental challenges. Now, space exploration and education leads to a lot of economic growth. Investments in space programs create high-skilled jobs, just like, for example, NASA provides a lot of jobs for other people. Same does with SpaceX. They provide lots of money. Encouraging scientific research motivates students to pursue careers in science. I wouldn't have this passion for space if it wasn't for NASA and learning about the moon, learning about other planets, because this is a passion of mine since I was 9 years old. Mathematics, because math is the universal language of the universe. Hence the quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And also STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. As a result, exploring space is not only expands our understanding of the universe, but also improves technology, safety, healthcare, and quality of life for every single person on this planet. All 8.3 billion people here on this planet. So let's talk about the NASA budget. So that's the chapter 2. So if we compare NASA's budget to when we raced people to the moon to beat the Soviet Union. So back in the 1960s, the NASA's budget has peaked about 4.4% and of the entire federal budget. When the United States was racing to land astronauts from the moon, as we were competing against the Soviet Union, but today we see a very different number. So let's talk about it. The federal budget of the United States is about $7 trillion. Now, NASA only receives from the federal budget about $25 to $27 billion. So if we take the probability of all of that from 7 trillion to $25 billion, that would be 0.3, so a third to about 0.4. So that means, let's take a penny for example. 4/10 of 1 penny, about right there, that's about 4/10 of 1 penny. Or let's just pretend that this is a single dollar bill. This is a $2 bill, which they don't make these anymore. But let's just pretend that this is a dollar bill because it's the exact same length. So about 0.35, as we just rounded between 0.3 and 0.4, let's just say 0.35. That's over 1/3. Now 0.35 is about that very razor thin edge of this bill. That means it's not even in the paint. Now fold this back to 99.6% of the entire rest of this dollar bill, then that's very low when we think about it. That's about that thickness, that little sliver. So that means that $99.65 is spent on programs such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and national defense and veteran benefits, interest on the national debt, and education, transportation, and other government services. That's the entire rest of this dollar bill. And NASA is only receiving just that little sliver, but NASA's budget is getting lower. So it's currently right around that $20 billion mark, but that means that sliver is getting thinner. So let's talk about extinction protection, for example. In 2022, NASA Double Asteroid Redirect Test, or DART, mission successfully changed the orbit of a small asteroid by crashing a spacecraft into it head on, and this impact has redirected that asteroid away from Earth. And that's one of the best ways, that the first demonstration that humans can alter an asteroid's path is found on a collision course from Earth. And also we can use that technology from DART and build other new technologies, especially when we go to Mars Or the moon, for example, since the moon does get hit by these objects all the time. And we can use these altering demonstrations like the DART mission, but also new technologies to bat asteroids away from our bases on the moon, but also on Mars as well. Now, space weather monitoring, understanding the sun to forecast the sun's solar output and activity, since the sun goes through an 11-year tantrum period where it throws out these massive solar rays that alters our magnetosphere and also our atmosphere as well. We can understand it so it doesn't damage our satellites or our electrical grids or GPS and communication systems, because we had massive solar flares that knocked out our power grids and GPS communications. That's a big case that happened in 2003, when a massive solar flare has wiped out some of the Northeast, especially up into Canada, up in Quebec. Climate and environmental monitoring. Now you can track hurricanes, since Earth is warming and our surface oceans are warming. That leads to strengthening hurricanes, but also here on land, since we have warm air mass and a cold air mass, that can lead to stronger tornadoes as well. And these lead to more destructive tornadoes and also destructive storms. So that means all of this stuff that we're monitoring can also provides information back to enforcements and sirens to detect when the threat is happening and how strong it is, to tell everybody living in these zones to evacuate immediately once this threat happens. And also law enforcement and enforcement help, that's working on this case, monitoring the destruction paths and helping everybody evacuate. Also, number 5, long-term survival and humanity. By developing technologies for living on the moon and Mars, NASA's advancing capabilities could help someday humans survive if global catastrophe made Earth temporary or permanently uninhabitable. So if there is some life alternating stuff that's happening on Earth, well, we can use that technology to improve life here on Earth as well, but also improving the moon and Mars as well. But also using that technology that we learn from there to help Earth as well. So that happens both ways. So finally, exploration and imagination. We send stuff like James Webb Space Telescope to image the corners of our universe and discover things that we've never seen before. You want to go on Mars, you want to go to Mars one day, explore what life is like on Mars. You want to go to the moon, explore lunar bases, but also discover life. You want to discover everything is on other planets as well, billions of light years away, or planets that's only very close, like 4 light years away. That's Earth-like. Understanding how its environment works and how it is similar to Earth. You want to explore your imagination by planning theories about why does this thing happen the way it does. What about Betelgeuse, for example? Why does it have a companion star? Most stars have companion stars. How does that work? Or imaginations of, planet-altering life like Earth and Theia, how they collided to form the moon, and how did that work? And what happened after? What about things like Saturn's rings? How did that form? And the implications of all of that. You want to make imaginations and theories about why does things in the universe happen the way they do. And that's pretty much the conclusion of everything that's want to show you guys, like how we use it on every single day lives. That everything from NASA is used in everyday life. The ones that we sleep on, used for safety, medical, water, everything that we use recreationally, like GPS signals. All of this stuff was funded by NASA, but unfortunately, since NASA's budget is getting lower, we want to understand how we can save NASA's budget to afford missions like going to Mars, going to the moon, going to other planets, understanding about life on Earth as well. How can we improve life on Earth as well? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you guys are brand new, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.